By saying yes, I agree that a lot of our cup races are too long. I definitely think our races are too long. I think 3 hours is too long.
Two worlds of racing just crashed into each other, and what one driver said next has fans on both sides fired up. It all started with a joke. An IndyCar legend took a little shot at NASCAR. Everyone figured a NASCAR star would fire right back and defend his sport. Instead, he did the last thing anyone expected. He agreed. And that one word set off a small war online. Let's back up and start from the beginning. Scott Dixon is one of the greatest open-wheel drivers to ever live. He has 6 IndyCar championships. 6. Over the weekend, someone asked Dixon what he thought about how long NASCAR Cup races are. His answer was short and blunt. He said, "I don't know."
I don't know. I find it really hard to watch a cup race these days, so yeah.
It's fascinating.
It allows for a nap, so maybe that's good, I don't know.
Now, he said it with a chuckle. It was clearly a joke, but we all know how this goes. A little joke about racing can turn into a full-blown fight online in about 5 minutes, and that is exactly what happened here. Dixon isn't making up the numbers. This season, Cup Series races are averaging 3 hours and 15 minutes. Think about that. That's longer than most movies. That's a big chunk of your whole day. So the joke had some real truth hiding inside it, and that's part of why it landed so hard. Then came the perfect moment for a response. This week, NASCAR is racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That place is holy ground for racing. It's home to both the Brickyard 400 and the world-famous Indy 500. And it just so happens that one NASCAR driver has raced in both of those events at that exact track. Kyle Larson. So of course, the media asked Larson about Dixon's comments. This was his big chance. Would he stand tall for NASCAR? Would he throw the joke right back at the IndyCar guy? Fans leaned in, ready for a classic clapback. It never came. Larson agreed with him. Here's exactly what he said. "Well, I'll start off by saying yes, I agree that a lot of our cup races are too long." Let that sink in. A NASCAR driver, standing at a NASCAR track on a NASCAR weekend, said his own sport's races run too long. You do not hear that kind of honesty every day. Most drivers would dodge the question or find a polite way around it. Larson just said it straight. And he didn't stop there. He explained the reason behind his thinking, and it's a smart one. Larson said, "I just think that's the way the world has kind of gone and how people consume sports. I definitely think our races are too long. I think 3 hours is too long." So look at what he's really saying. He's not saying NASCAR is bad. He's not trashing his own sport. He's saying the world has changed. People watch sports differently now. They want things quicker. They want to fit a race into a busy life full of 100 other things pulling at them. Sitting still for 3 straight hours is just a big ask in 2026. But here's where Larson showed he still has his sports back. He did not agree with all of it. Remember Dixon's nap joke? Larson wasn't buying that part. He said, "But as far as a nap, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me, but I agree with what he was saying." So he drew a clear line in the sand. Too long? Yes, he'll give you that. Boring enough to fall asleep? No, he's not going that far. It was a fair and honest answer. He gave the IndyCar champ credit where it was due, but he still stood up for the sport that pays his bills. That's a hard balance to strike, and he pulled it off. And that balance is exactly what lit the fuse. When a NASCAR star agrees with an IndyCar legend, the fans notice. And they notice fast. IndyCar fans loved it. Their guy made a point, and a top NASCAR driver just backed him up. To them, that felt like a win. Meanwhile, a chunk of NASCAR fans were not thrilled at all. They felt like one of their own had crossed over and sided with the rival camp. So the two fan bases went at it. It turned into a tug of war between the two racing worlds. Fans argued. Media members picked sides. Everyone had a take. What started as one joke and one honest answer blew up into a full debate about which sport does it better and what racing should even look like going forward. But here's the part a lot of angry fans totally missed. NASCAR itself might actually agree with Dixon and Larson. A NASCAR leader named Ben Kennedy sat down on a podcast and talked about this exact issue, and he was surprisingly open about it. He explained that those long races come from a very different time in the sport's history. Way back, racing wasn't just about speed, it was about survival. It was about which car and driver could last the whole way without breaking down. Kennedy said, so it was more about endurance and finishing the race than who the best driver competitor was every single weekend. Because you'd have cars that finish laps down, you have cars that'd break midway through the race, and there's something incredible about a driver and a vehicle going 500 miles and being the best at it. That's actually a cool piece of history. Back in the day, cars broke down all the time. Engines blew, parts failed. Just crossing the finish line in one piece was a huge accomplishment. The length made sense because it tested toughness, not just talent. But times have changed, and Kennedy admitted it plainly. He said, and in today's world, every vehicle is going to finish a race, or they should finish the race. So, it's evolved from that and the audience has changed. So even the folks running NASCAR know the sport is in a new era now. The cars are better and tougher. They rarely break. The fans are different. And the old reasons for those marathon races just don't hit the same way they used to. Now here's the news that should get every fan's attention. NASCAR is actually thinking about making some races shorter. Kennedy said they want to test the idea on smaller events first, so there's less to lose. He pointed to races like the Clash as a good place to try it out. He said, let's condense it, shorten it a little bit. Let's try different formats, and then see how the feedback is. The plan is smart and simple. Try shorter races when the stakes are low. Watch how the fans react. Listen to the teams and the drivers. Then decide if bigger changes are worth making down the road. So this whole thing isn't just fans yelling at each other. Real change might actually be on the way, and Larson's comment just poured gas on a fire that was already burning. And for Larson, all of this dropped during a huge week for him. He's racing at Indy, a place he calls a crown jewel. He won the Brickyard 400 back in 2024. The same wild year he tried the double, running the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the very same day. So this guy knows this track inside and out. He knows both sides of the racing world, and that's a big reason his opinion carries so much weight in this whole debate. He's not an outsider taking shots, he's lived it. His team has had a rough few weeks lately, but Larson says they feel close to turning it around. He called his group a 4th to 7th place car right now, still grinding to fight their way back to the front and grab another win. But the headline everyone will walk away with is simple. An IndyCar legend joked that NASCAR races are too long, and instead of firing back to defend his sport, one of NASCAR's biggest stars looked everyone dead in the eye and basically said, yeah, he's right. But the bigger picture is clear. When a star driver and a top NASCAR boss both admit the same thing on the same week, that's not just noise, that's a sign. The sport is listening, change is being talked about for real, and the next time you sit down for a cup race, it might not be as long as you think. Larson lit the match. Now everyone's waiting to see what NASCAR does with it.